Arches, welcome back to another Bolt. We are staying in Matthew this round, and this time we're going to be focusing on verses 20, or no, just kidding. Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30, which is a bigger chunk than our last one. So I'm going to let Femi read us in, and then we will get going.
Yeah, pray real quick. God, your word is powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword. Please help it to speak to us. We'll get on in. Before reading two, I'll say, this one is helpful for me, and I hope it's encouraging to you as we discuss it. So, again, the kingdom of heaven, it will be like a man going on a journey. Also, I'm reading NIV.
NIV and NASB.
Yeah. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one, he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received the 5 talents went at once to put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more, but the man who had received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 talents also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received the 1 talent came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant outside in the dark, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So,
what an image!
Like, it's real quick summary of addition into the parable. Someone told me, who would you let live with you if they all got broke? Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos. Who would live with you if they all went broke? And you're like, it doesn't matter. They're all broke. They're not rich anymore. Mm-hmm. Why do I care? It's well, in the Garden of Eden, we were with the glory of God. All of us have now fallen so significantly. Some of us are better at basketball, arts, crafts, homemaking, music, whatever. Yet we judge each other like those are amazing. When we all had virtually spiritual, physical billions of dollars. Now we're all in these broken, fragile bodies. And so this parable to me a lot, when I think about it, is God just saying, all you got to do is try. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if somebody is better at you in 5 times as good as you at a thing, or 2 times as good as you at a thing. I gave you a thing, and I want it to come back with all the work you put into it, which has helped me when I felt like I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. What is the big thing that God wants me to do? Mm-hmm. To go, just try faithfully try, but the thing will not go out void. Mm-hmm. It won't be useless. And so it's been really encouraging for me to think about that of, I was supposed to be here and now I'm here. So that's a lot really quickly. We talked about it again a little bit last night, but yeah. Josh, what some of your thoughts of the same parable?
Yeah. So before I jump into my thought, to again add a little tidbit of, again, the thing that we're practicing with analysis. So this story or this parable is about talents. And so we have to kind of do some work to ascribe, is it a literal talent? When we think of, the modern age, I'm talented at XYZ. Mm-hmm. Is it a talent? I've heard people, in this instance, it's money, it's a type of currency. It talks about being, the master says you should have put it in the bank. So it makes us think that it's a kind of currency. So why is Femi then saying that this is about our gifts when it's clearly the literal thing is about money, is what it seems to be about. And I think we could argue that it could be about both. But I think in this instance, it's about, like, if we take the word talent literally, there is a sense that this is about the ways that God has individually equipped us. And I would say that this also aligns with other scripture that talks about, like, there being one body but many parts, that there's, you know, no one who's greater in the kingdom, that there's different elements of God's character and what he says about his heavenly glory that is captured in this parable, telling us, just like Femi said, it's not about what you actually output. Like, God isn't going to be like, well, you didn't turn into Elon Musk, so, like, you failed, dude. Like, that's not his goal for me. His goal for me is for me to be faithful with what he's given me. Given me, exactly. So one thing that stands out that I think is really interesting, and I don't know if I've ever really processed this, is how judgy the slothful servant is of the master. Like, that's like a really interesting moment for me of conflict. And you wonder, like, and again, thinking of storytelling, Jesus specifically, quote unquote, wrote that servant to say, well, like, I know how you operate, and I like, you know, I know how you are, or basically. So, like, I just, like, didn't do anything because I was kind of wigged out. I was scared. I wonder what Jesus's message would have been, or his intention would have been, if he would have written the slothful servant to be humble in this moment, where he's like, I was really scared because I was overwhelmed by the, you know, all the different options that I could do with this one talent. And we actually went over this parable in my my worldview class this year, because, you know, we were talking about, like, careers and, you know, all these different things, and I was trying to encourage them that, like, you don't need to feel this oppressive, there's only one job option for me, or, like, I have to figure out this one magical thing in college that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and if I don't know it at 16, like, I'm a failure. Like, that's silly. Like, even God's word, like Femi said, it's not about the outcome, it's about the attempt. And so when you hear that, like, what do you think, or when you see that scene, what do you think of between?
I also think what
happened
if you lost the money, right? Like, if you use all of your talents and you're spent and you have nothing, what is the master's response? To, like, adding context, in the ancient world, like, you build up land, you had a farm, and then as you got more, people who didn't have land would work your farm, and you'd give them a little bit, or you'd build a house for them to stay on your property. So, like, I think that part of it is, I don't think the servant would come humbly. I think that the servant knows, like, he's got a job, and he was trying to, like, not do something through his job. But even if he did come humbly, it would be because he lost it in trying. Like, I think of how many believers work their self to the bone, and, like, they're never going to be rich. Like, how many missionaries, you know, like, who make no money, come back to the States with no retirement plan, no savings. Like, their kids are sometimes estranged for them. The world doesn't really love them. They got nothing. They're like, hey, God, this is what I got. And he's like, no. I saw the effort. I saw that you. But I think that's part of it, is his response to the 5 and the 2 is the exact same. It's more focusing on the response to the behavior than, can my behavior change like you said, can my behavior change the outcome? Like, no, my attitude can change the outcome. Like, my attitude is always going, I'm so grateful to be on this property and to work for this noble person, for this person who continues to provide for me and for these people.
That's good.
Right? Like, to go, that attitude of gratitude, be like, hey, I tried to invest the talent and they lost money. Like, Bitcoin crashed, you know?
Right.
Like, it's like, yeah. That's okay. That's not your fault. You did the best you could. And I would have potentially done even the same thing, because you were trying to follow my heart. Right? You treated it as your own. You treated it as your own. If you treated it as mine, like, there's a separation there. Like, you don't treat it, my stuff is your stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what would happen if he was humble.
Yeah.
Like, but I think that's part of the other message of it. Like, look how gracious this dude has been in trusting these people. And it gives me a lot of hope when I want to go, like, I don't know what to do with these kids. I don't know if I'm being a good husband. I don't know if I'm doing the best of my job. Like, it's like, no. Like, faithfully continue to look like you work for me. You'll get better at all these things over time. You will not do it next Monday.
Yeah.
Like, you will not be the best next Monday.
Yeah.
You will, over 20 years, 15 years of trying. And the same thing with us in PA. Like, you keep trying slowly. It'll make a bigger difference than if you try to be like, we've done it. We've completely changed the way people think about stuff. So,
well, even to close out too, I think what's interesting is that this parable ends with Jesus mentioning that there's this place devoted for those who didn't try, or like who didn't attempt. And it's not this like, and I think everyone always hears, you know, like weeping and gnashing of teeth and like, oh, that's hell. If you don't try, you're going to. And I think someone explained that image to me as like, that is the physical reaction to extreme regret. And I thought that was a more potent understanding, that you're in this place where it's like, if I just would have done what was asked of me, or like, if I just would have blank, or if I just would have put it in the bank, he wouldn't have yelled at me, or like he wouldn't have taken what I had.
There's that. There's also like, you're not in community. Like, I feel like people being separated too.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not hell, like, I think that there is a lot of evidence like it is hell. But the reason why I think that is because where is the place that God is not? And like, wherever that is, I don't care if you're on an island beach, if God is not there, like, that's not a good place to be. And so, like, that idea of, I'm out of community. I treated the master as he was separate from me. And instead of being blessed with more from trying or given another attempt or whatever, I am now cast out.
Yeah.
Where I'm not in this person's presence. I feel like if you're somebody who feels like you're being judged all the time, one thing you can always think about is, instead of viewing yourself as lowly, as always, view yourself as always working. And if you're viewing yourself as always working, eventually the person who rejected you is going to miss out on the person you become. If you feel like that person has the authority to reject you, it hurts more. But when you are rejected and you don't change, it makes you feel sadder, because you're not going to be any different. If you go, I'm trying, that person's rejecting somebody who's trying, they don't understand that, like, that investment in my trying is going to pay off if I continue to be faithful. God sees me attempting and trying and being humble and trying. And I'm going to be a person of virtue and character at the end, through 50 failures, through 25 million lashes. Like, I will still be standing, and you will not have gotten to see the person I become with the scars and the wounds and everything. So there's that too. I know we're about at time. Is there any story in pop culture or mainstream media you're like, oh yeah, this reminds me of like this or that?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just running through all the movies we've already done episodes on, but that's probably not a bad thing. I think one of them is definitely Soul. Like, it's just all about like, you know, Joe feels like he has to do this one thing with his abilities and his talent, and he hasn't lived out this dream of his, and so therefore he's a failure. And in reality, like, one of his greatest strengths is what he's already doing, or like one of his best outpourings of his gift is what he's already doing, and he just was missing out on the other stuff because he was so focused on this version or this way it had to look. So Soul is definitely one thing. I'm trying to think of other things. So I'm gonna keep thinking, but if you have some movies that are on your mind.
The only one that sticks out in my head is one of my favorite movies is Good Will Hunting. Not safe for kids in my current estimation, but when this person's given all these gifts and they don't want to use them because they're like, it's gonna just add mess to the world. Like, I don't want to try because it's like, it's gonna screw stuff up. I don't want to screw stuff up. I'm just gonna chill here. And someone challenges me. It's like, but what if you do? Like, what if? I think David Goggins, who's another not safe for kids speaker, he talks about like, what if I can be the next? Like, there's only been this many people has ever done this, like trying to make them scared. It's like, well, yeah, but what if I'm the next person? I try. Like, he does ultra marathons. I do not. Like, what if I'm the next? What if I'm the next person? What if I'm the person who wakes up and goes to the gym early like Kobe? What if I'm the next Kobe? I'm not the next Kobe. But what if I'm the next? And it gets you to wake up again and go like, today's another chance. And for Christians, like, his mercies are new every morning. Every morning you're like, okay, let's try this again. Like, it's such a beautiful, hopeful way to live compared to, oh, I failed 2 years ago. I'm
This
useless.
is it.
That's it. That was
I'm
never
done.
like, that means
Yeah,
I'm
I
a failure
peaked.
forever.
For sure.
You know? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, didn't Colonel Sanders make like millions of dollars in his old age? Like,
Yeah. Didn't quit.
That's
good.
Yeah, like living in hope is what this is about to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in that hope making you try, and
Yeah.
that trying being blessed by the person who's trusted you with these gifts. So
Definitely. I had one last movie that came to mind, and I
Yeah.
think it's like the anti-parable version of this, but Office Space. Because I think of what is, I think it's Peter is the main guy.
I think you're right.
I think I'm right. I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched that movie. Also more of a like high school age.
not safe
like,
kids, yeah.
Yeah. But one of the things about that movie is like he's like, I'm just done. I'm not doing anything. And I would say that that's almost like the anti-parable where he ends up doing something kind of crazy with his friends and using the gifts that he has to kind of like build relationships and build a team and do all this stuff. But he does something that potentially risks all of them getting in like huge trouble. And then like, you know, so thinking again, how you use your talent, and are you using your talent to, I think of this image in the actual parable of investment.
Right.
Are you investing it to then bless other people? Like, I think that's a really noble goal with wealth, is to invest in other people in need, invest in your community so that your community is raised up. Or are you seeing your talent and your means and your abilities selfishly, that this is to get me another step further and to build on top of somebody else and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's what's up. All right. Y'all have a great one. See you later.
Peace.